Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Late for the Party on Anchor FM. I am your host, Melodious. Man, we are going to get into a In My Mind segment on this beautiful, gray Saturday morning. Wow, we are going to get into the In My Mind segment of Mortal Kombat 11's controversy. Now, everybody should know that Mortal Kombat 11 just came out this week, so it's been pretty much all over YouTube, all over social media, and everything else. And there's just been a lot of press going on with it and everything. So, I mean, of course, it's Mortal Kombat. It's one of the first brutal video games to ever, and still successful, probably just as successful as Street Fighter. So considering the fact that there's this situation going on to where it's like they've been talking about, it's been a little controversial thing about the ending of one of the Mortal Kombat characters known as Jax. So my thing is, if for those who do or do not know, that Jax is a African American soldier in the video game of Mortal Kombat. He first came out in Mortal Kombat 2 and has been pretty much a staple in most of the Mortal Kombat games. I mean, ever since 2, he's been in the majority of them. So the thing is that Jax is military. He's a military man. His teammate is usually Sonya Blade, and he usually fights on the side of good. So, but in the game of Mortal Kombat 11, you know, there's a arcade mode called classic mode, like classic something, I believe. I haven't played it personally, but, you know, just following up on everything that's like from the endings and everything on YouTube and everything. I don't care about spoiling it for me or anything, but the main thing is that every character in the arcade mode usually gets their own unique ending, and it's usually, I mean, most of it, unless if they're the main character, it usually doesn't connect with the main character's storylines. So, pretty much, the main bad guy in this video game is, I believe, Corona, and she's like the mistress of time. She's able to control time itself. So basically, Mortal Kombat is dealing with like a lot of things going on with the past and the present, and basically going back, like, you know, you're running into their past characters and whatnot. So pretty much, if you play in the arcade mode, whoever you play with, if you beat the main villain of the story, what happens is that they get their own unique ending. So pretty much Jax's ending, he pretty much says that he's been he's able to control time. Ratings telling them about, like, if you dial it back too far, you could rewrite history and change it, and it could be for the worse. So being a soldier, he was saying, like, you know what, honestly, if I thought about myself, then what kind of soldier, what kind of officer would I be? You know, knowing that if he changes, like, instead of just doing something solely for himself, he did something for black people in general, because he was like, for every soldier, for being a military man, I've lived the American dream, but for every other person, but for everyone else who looks like me, not so much. You know what I'm saying? And knowing that, he dialed it all the way back to where the Atlantic slave trade did not happen. So he said he tried it. He tried fixing it a couple of times, once, twice, and then the third time he like hit the back, knowing that he changed history to where all black people would kind of look like Wakanda. It looked like it was Wakanda all over the shop, basically. You know, like he basically got his arms, he got his wife and his daughter. You know, pretty much you see a couple of black people mixed around with a lot of other folks, and everything seems to be fine. So he abolishes slavery. He abolishes it. And he said, basically, he was like, I'm not going to sit around waiting for centuries on end for people to get woke. He changed it himself. He went back and just said, you know what? I'm not waiting. You know? And I'm like, what's the problem with this? Why is it and then people on Twitter, they're starting to trip people, well, mainly white keyboard warriors, talking about, oh, why is it an issue? Why is it just black people? Why couldn't all people not be slaves? See, I'm starting to understand, for when it comes down to stuff like us, they try to sweep it under the rug and everything, and I'm like they try to make it seem like slavery for black people never happened. You know what I'm saying? And then they try to make it seem like, oh, we shouldn't get political in video games. Okay, that's fine. I understand that. I agree with that. But slavery isn't politics. How is what Jax is doing in the game anything to do with politics? Slavery is bad in general. But for most Americans who don't look like me, thinking oh, get over it. It happened years ago. But we still deal with slavery every day. It never stopped. And normally I don't usually talk about stuff like this on my page and everything, but it's like even with the whole Black Lives Matter thing and whatever, then it's oh, but all lives matter. Okay. But if you sat there and I said, okay, talk about breast cancer, you're not going to sit here and look at me and say, well, all cancer's bad. No, you're not going to do that. So why would you do that for anything else? I mean, shit, you don't see a lot of white people getting murked out on the street and everything and stuff like that, by cops, or getting sweated, or not getting a job because of the color of your skin or anything like that. You're not getting your job or getting sweated on by the cops by the merit of your character, but you're by the color of your skin. And it sucks because it's keep in mind, it's a video game, and your guys are tripping off of an ending that was creatively done. And hell, the whole concept was Jax decided to not think about just himself. Yeah, he could have got his fucking arms back, but you know what? He wanted to fix everything. That's the problem with the world, in his world, the world that he notices and sees. Because, like he said, just because he was a military dude, and this goes for anybody who's rich or military or a basketball player or anything like that. Just because you might not have seen, basically pulling a Colin Kaepernick. He sees the shit that's going on, and then he's trying to he does something about it. In the magnitude of dialing back time. I mean, it's a video game, ladies and gentlemen. Get over yourselves. It's not even that fucking serious. Actually, I find it very creative that they even did that. You know, I give props to Ed Boon for that. You know? What's wrong with that? People are so up in arms about the shit, and the sad part is, it's the people who are on the negative side of it tripping about it. So that goes to show that you guys didn't, like, you guys don't care. It'd be all fun and games if, like, all white people were also, like, on the receiving end of being slaves, right? Y'all wouldn't like that one bit. You would finally see. I mean, come on. It's like, I mean, you know, look at all these World War II games. You know? Look at all these Call of Duties and Medal of Honors and stuff like that. But you don't see, like, you don't see Germans mainly tripping on it. The only time you've seen a little controversy about any video game with that was Wolfenstein recently. The Wolfenstein series, where the Germans actually won. So, you know, and it's like, you're tripping off of that, and it's like, it's a fucking video game. But then more importantly, like I said, like, I agree that, like, you know, you shouldn't have anything involving politics or religion and everything else like that in video games, because honestly, I feel like it shouldn't be like that in any form of media. But with that, you guys, the people, the negative Nancy's, they're the ones making it worse than it actually is. And the sad part is, it's like, you can't even live, because it's like Muggs is like making matters even worse. Like, I don't get it. You know? I mean, people make a big deal out of anything to nothing, and it's like, there's no way that anybody should definitely be it shouldn't even be that. Man, it's just sad to me, because it's like they make a big deal out of the scenario to where, like, so what? But what does it have to pertain to you? I mean, are you that negative about, oh, why you gotta bring up slavery and everything else like that? Well, shit. It's like, it's amazing to me that, like, where people, like, why are you so angry about slavery? It happened 400 years ago. Because the issue never got resolved. It's not like when the Jewish, the Jewish people were, you know, with the Nazis and everything. Shit, they wound up, in Germany, they wound up taking, I mean, you don't see no statues of, like, Hitler and his generals around or anything like that. I mean, hell, they pretty much, like, no, they ex-nayed that shit. And the Jews got reparations for it. So it's like, yo, they solved that shit. They got resolved for it. You know? It got resolved. You know, there might be a little trickle of things of skinheads and everything else, and everything else, but even with that, it's like, you know, it's not as predominantly, like, covered over like how it was for, like, black people in the South. You know, they still got statues of freaking Confederate soldiers and stuff like that all over the place. They still glorify that shit. You know, my forefathers and everything else, but they want to sweep it under the rug like, oh, it never existed. It was just a figment of our imaginations. It was so long ago. But it still exists. It still exists. You know, and the sad part is, people don't, they say let it go, but how can you let go of something that never got cleared up, never got resolved? It was never taken care of. And you got the gall to sit there and complain about a fucking video game? A video game that pretty much is fictitious in all its form. I mean, it's pretty much fictional all over the shop. And you're tripping about it. Like, if I wrote it in, if it was in any kind of form of media, a comic book, a video game, I mean, shit. Even if it's in, any kind of movie, shit. But then again, these are the same people that tripping about, when Black Panther came out, it's 90% black. There's not enough white people. Let Black Panther speak English from Britain and shit. Like, seriously? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, but these are the same assholes that sit there tripping about, like, Captain Marvel. As crappy as Captain Marvel was to me, it still wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't like Venom or anything. I think they just kind of overdid it. But they tripped about Wonder Woman. They tripped about a lot of stuff. But then again, these are the same fucking assholes who are tripping about the characters in Mortal Kombat who are overdressed and wearing armor. When back in the day, half the time they were wearing skimpy-ass costumes. You can't fight with shit like that on. And that's not very tasteful. You know what? I really hate to say it, but in this day and age, we are surrounded by a lot of stupidity. A lot of people are fucking stupid. And I think the problem is that, honestly, social media really killed that mojo for us. And it's not in a bad way, because it helps out in a good way and a bad way. Just like journalism helps out in good and bad and anything else. Television. It's just how it's being projected. You know, and that's the main problem with this whole scenario with that, is because it's like, honestly, it's like, really? You guys are tripping about a fucking video game that a character of African descent decided to do something other than for himself. You missed the message. He sacrificed the fact that he could lose his family for the sake of his own people, for his people. And he didn't say the black people were just a superior race. He said everybody was fine. Everybody was cool. It was equally deviated. So it wasn't just there was black. He didn't go all like black power and black slave, black slave, white slavery and black rage. He didn't do all that. He didn't do that at all. He just basically said, and I quote, he knocked it out of the park. Everybody was fine from this point. Everybody was cool. So what's the problem with that? Nigga, be happy. He was happy. But everybody on the receiving end of the fucking video game wasn't. And then they decide to jump on Twitter and bitch and complain. What the fuck for? Grow the fuck up. Shit, white people just don't, is it bad enough all white people got everything damn near out of life and you still want more? Damn. Just get over yourselves. It's not even that serious. And if anybody who sits there talking about, you should get over slavery and all that stuff, it happened so long ago. Hey, fuck it. Let me tell you something. You know what? If anybody sits there or anybody says anything, I'm going to tell it one thing, I'm going to let it be known. If it happened to y'all, you need to shut the fuck up, because you don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. Alright? Unless you're native, unless you're Jewish, Native American, African, African American, anything like that, guess the hell what? If none of that stuff happened to you in any shape or form, then that's all you guys' fault. Not all you guys' fault, but don't sit there complaining about anything, because honestly, if it ain't happened to you or your side of the family or your neck of the woods, then you guys ain't got nothing to fucking complain about or put in your 2 cents. Jesus Christ, I didn't want to get that hard. My blood's all hard on like that, but my blood is boiling right now. So, oh man, this is the In My Mind segment, signing off on that shit, for real. This is the In My Mind segment on Late for the Party. Oh man, please, you guys, like, comment, share, subscribe, and support the podcast. And please, go on YouTube, look up Mortal Kombat 11 Controversy and see the ending for Jax yourselves. And please comment on it and tell me what you guys think of it yourselves. Because honestly, I ain't see a fucking problem. So why is it a fucking problem? It's not a political issue, because slavery isn't fucking political. It's a bad thing. And for anybody to shake their mouth up thinking otherwise, then honestly, you guys need to go get your fucking head examined with a fucking pipe wrench. Either way, I'm your host Melodious, aka Coverboy, signing off. And as always, you guys, it's okay to be late for the party, but don't be late for the fun. You guys take care, and let this music roll out. Yeah, let it smooth out a little bit. There we go.